Damn, YouTube did not work again.
Oh, it did.
It did?
Yeah, it was working.
Oh, good. We are back. All right, sorry about that, guys. We're trying to make sure, see what's up with all these technical glitches, but glad we are absolutely back and in. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Tide Talk. Crack a beer. Cozy up. We're recording this one on Thursday, June 23rd, to talk RIFC's first home win as the Tide beat El Paso Locomotive 3-0, registering the first win streak and now unbeaten in their last 3 matches. And Evan, aka Up the Evan, would love to take full credit for that, but we're gonna say that Tide Talk is going to take the full credit for that. We will battle Evan with that one. Since we announced Tide Talk, this team is unbeaten in 3, so we're gonna put it at that. We'll leave it at that. Just a reminder: each episode is also available on YouTube, and if you're watching now, please take a second to subscribe to the channel and click the like button on this video. You can also find us on your favorite podcast applications like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you listen on one of those, we'd really appreciate it if you took a minute to leave us a 5-star rating and a short review, as it helps more people find our podcast. If you're not already using the Club Collector app, Craig does some awesome work there. Click the link in this episode description. Click the link tree to get on that site and go into the code Tide Talk, all one word, to get your free pack today. Obviously, I was not at the match last night. I was at the Zach Bryan concert at Gillette. One of the best live shows I've ever seen. So if I'm going to miss the Tide's first home win, I guess it would be for a good concert. I'll take that as consolation prize, and hopefully I'm there for the first win at Tidewater. But I'm joined by my good friend Ryan. Ryan, what's up? How's everything going, man?
I'm just really getting concerned because I think my cheeks might be broken. I haven't stopped smiling all day, so I have to go see a doctor.
Awesome.
I don't know.
That is good. Have you dried out a bit?
Barely. It was pretty unfortunate after the game. This is why I'm not wearing my Rhode Island FC kit tonight. It looked like I played a full 90 after we got out of the celebrations at the end, and I literally was just dripping. It was disgusting. Sorry for anyone who saw me after the game.
I told you before we get on, my hey dudes from last night are still drying out. It's pretty gross. But that's neither here or there. So let's dive right into this one as the Tide beat El Paso 3-0 at home. And I guess the first big point we have to take or talk about is we saw Jackson Lee stay in net over Coque Vegas. Were you surprised by that?
Everyone's gonna be getting on me in the chat on this one. I was very surprised because I on this podcast a couple days ago was very much like, it's obviously gonna be Coque. Let's all get rid of this Lee dreams. And hey, hand up, I was wrong. But I want to say the reason I said that was because this was, we talked about this a long time ago. Kano did this last time when Coque went out. He came right back in the lineup, even though Jackson had a multiple team of the weeks. So there was some precedents set for that take, but I absolutely loved Kano in the post-match press conference talking about how, how could I look anyone in the eye that played against Louisville and won that game and not have them start this game. So I love that he took a lot of what we were talking about when the whole Lee Coque debate happened the first time and applied it here of like letting someone earn their spot, letting someone keep their spot based on performance. So big one.
I was pretty happy to see an unchanged 11. I, in my head, thought it was gonna be Coque, but in my heart wanted it to be Jackson. Just think, if you make 8 saves in a match, you deserve to stay in there. It's almost like you see in the NHL right now with multiple keepers and trying to ride the hot hand. And if Jackson Lee has the hot hand and is making 8 saves in a match against the siege, like Louisville put us under siege in that second half, you got to stay with them. And I'm just glad to see that Kano did that. One of my biggest gripes with Kano, we were kind of talking off air about this, was kind of early on, was kind of his stick to itness to this system, that he'd rather force this system seemingly upon this team than try to adapt and see what these players are good at and what style they're good at playing. And it was a lot of square pegs, round holes. We've talked about Holstad being deployed at all these different positions, but to get him into the midfield obviously is a big piece. But now seeing, we don't need the ball that much, and we can be clinical and tackle our chances and convert our chances is pretty interesting. And I think it's him learning as a coach. I think it's him adapting as a coach and hopefully growing. And I think it's only going to benefit this team going forward.
I cannot agree more. That we're gonna have a whole. I did slides, everybody. I'm just gonna skip to it. I made slides. So we are gonna talk big on Kano, what's been going on, some of the changes he's made. But yeah, he was my good last week, and he would be my great this week. I'm just very, very, very impressed.
The fans are loving it. Villa fans are loving the 6 points. Nate, I did see the new gift, Up the Tide. Fucking love it. Ryan showed it to me before we came on, so I think he's repping it right now.
Double
So,
blinked.
awesome stuff. Love all of you that interact with us the post. Sorry I got them out late. Leaving Gillette was like a fucking train wreck in a monsoon last night, and then roads were blocked getting home, so I was like, fuck it, do it in the morning. So glad we still got some 3 words reviews in there, and we got some good, bad, and the uglies that we'll share with you a little bit later on. But as I mentioned in the opening, an unchanged 11: Jackson Lee in net, no Darce, Yao, Chumesi, Quazera, Ibarra, Brito, Holstad, Turnbull, JJ Williams, and Chico. And let's start with Chico, who started off the Tide with that first goal in the 21st minute. A lot of people calling for him to sit in this one and potentially not start. Is Chico a droppable player on this team, Ryan?
It's a good question because logically, I want to sit here and say absolutely. Like everyone should be droppable. There's obviously going to be a couple players who are always going to play when fit, but I personally think he should be droppable. I think we might have seen a bit of that with them maybe taking a little bit longer to bring him back from that injury than he might have needed to if he was in form. So they might have done that already, but I like to think anyone's droppable. However, it's tough to look at, what he did last year and what he's capable of and say we should put that on the bench if it's toss up.
Right. So I know it's three goals is kind of his barometer as seasons go. So he's creeping up. He's at 4, and we're still not at that halfway point. So trending in the right direction for Chico. As Matt Hand says in the chat, a pure poacher's goal for Chico. And let's relive that. Let's hit play and take a quick look.
Quizera, dangerous ball, back post, and in! They've been knocking on the door, and Albert Diqua has his 4th of the year.
Psycho killer. I think even more important was the build up to this one and that barrage that led to the corner before it, and it was 5 or 6 players just absolutely crashing the net. And I think that's a different look than we've seen from this team over the past few weeks. There are a lot of players, I think, that are hungry for goal now that they've gotten a taste, and they're trying to get in that 6-yard box and get around the goal and be there for these opportunities. And JJ Quazera put in an absolutely beautiful ball on this one, and Chico didn't have much to do with it. But the buildup that led to the corner, that led to this, I think was even more impressive than the goal itself, because it just showed how hungry this team is and how they're looking to actively try to score the ball a little bit more than we saw in previous games.
Yeah, I mean, even just at the end of that play, one of the things we were very critical about of the team over the past, a couple months now is, hey, we're putting in all these crosses and there's no one there. It seems like no one's on the same page. It seemed like everyone on that goal knew, hey, the minute Quazera's getting that ball and he's free on that wing, crash the net. We saw it wasn't just Chico in there. There's multiple bodies. If it wasn't him, someone was going to get a toe to that. So I was super excited to see that it was Chico. I think he needed one. I know he's taken a lot of criticism. I don't want to brag on the mousetrap. I did say that players are going to come in and out of form throughout the season, and hopefully this can bring him back into form and really get him on into rhythm and on a roll.
Yeah, right on. And the lead only grew 6 minutes later as Quazera, who had the assist on the Chico goal, found the back of the net on just an absolutely beautiful and amazing one-man effort. I think the run and the play into the box was even better than the finish, and it was a cheeky finish. It was really, really nice. I think that's going to be a goal of the week nominee, just for I think the balls to hit that shot the way he did.
I mean, if you cross someone up in basketball and hit the shot, it's sick. When you mega guy and then score a goal in soccer, that's like 10 out of 10.
Yep. So after he had the assist, Quazera gets back into the goal involvements with the goal to give the Tide the 2-0 lead in the 27th minute, and let's take a look at that one.
Quazera takes it. Quazera with speed has Diqua running centrally. Quazera forced wide by Dolan Meyer. A bit of defending. Quazera sneaks through. Still Quazera going for goal. That may be the goal of the week for the individual effort by Jojea Quazera, and Rhode Island's ahead by 2.
big fellow there from El Paso just seemed absolutely devastated after being megged up and then, flicked in like that. But just an outstanding individual effort from Quizera here. And I think we talked on the last episode how, him getting out there on international duty and scoring on international duty, we could see a really different and new JJ Quizera out there.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it last week too. Of like, there was this rumor of a new player coming in. I was saying I want this like winger who can, get on an island, make something happen off that. And he's shown 2 weeks in a row that he can do that. My only criticism of the goal is that I think I could have nutmegged Kristaps Porzingis out there with how long those guys' legs were. But at the same time, yeah, same time, that was like unbelievable run. The finish was so cheeky, so smart. Didn't try to blast it into a bunch of people. Just got, I don't know how that ball went in, but
that is so cool, calm, collected, composed. Any C's you want to use to describe that, like he did all of it. And Andrew says in the chat, Quizera has been a new man since going on international duty. Kind of what I alluded at, playing with so much confidence, and that is the play of an informed player and an ultimately confident player.
Well, I also think like with the celebration when they kind of came around the net, there was like a swagger about the team at that point. They were like, "We are gonna dominate. We are winning this game. We are pumped. This isn't the last goal we're scoring tonight." They did the like camera celebration when everyone got around each other. There was like a bit of a cockiness, and I kind of love it for a team who's trying to round into some form and put some points on the board. So
I'm all here for it. Matt Hand said in the chat, I might like that goal even more than Clay's in Louisville. That's an interesting take.
I don't hate that.
And Kevin's in the chat saying Matt Hand's with an awful take. Clay's banger is unmatched. I don't know. Let us know in the chat what you think. Two very different goals, but two spectacular goals nonetheless, I would say, for that one. We talked about Jackson Lee in the opening, and he had a really good save in the 30-something minute. I don't have the number right ahead of me, but we'll take a look at this clip as the El Paso player hit an absolute curler to the far post, and Jackson made a really nice diving stop at it.
Shabani goes for goal and saved by Lee. Had 8 in the win against Louisville, which came out.
So one thing I noticed about Jackson, we'll always talk about his distribution because that's like the sexy flashpoint moment that he can bring you. But he doesn't make a lot of saves where he's catching the ball. He makes a lot of parrying saves, and I think he's really, really good at it. And he's really good at parrying or punching the ball even away into spaces that'll take you away from danger. I think that's a big strength of his that will go overlooked because of his ability to play that deep ball and have such good distribution.
Yeah, it's also difficult too. Like as a keeper, he didn't have much to do for the first like 30 minutes of that game. So for him to stay engaged, stay focused, and stay ready there, is very impressive. There's a lot of keepers who talk about that, especially who play in that on like a Man City or an Arsenal. Like Aaron Ramsdale has said, like, yeah, I really struggled like in the past because I would go 20 minutes without even touching the ball, and all of a sudden I'm trying to stop a shot. So big props to him for staying in the game, staying alert, staying ready. Because like Scott said, he couldn't even see that when it came off the guy's boot. So big play.
Yeah, absolutely. Like our guy, the Bard, says in the chat, I mean, we were cocky as spectators from kickoff. So I think this was one that we kind of earmarked as one we could definitely get and one that we should definitely get. So I think the team playing with that swagger, like you mentioned earlier, was much more better anyway. But Evan brings up a good point on this one, and we'll use this to kind of tie into the end of the first half. This match was more impressive than Saturday at Louisville. I've got,
I think, like 1,000% more impressive.
I've got kind of like split opinions on this one. I think yes, because we really took it to him, but it was clinical on the break. But I think this El Paso team was just very poor. So I think that played a big role in it as well.
Well, it's a classic. Were they poor or did we make them look poor?
So it was an interesting one, right? Because we were on the same amount of points going into this one, but done very differently between wins and draws between the two of us. So you had mentioned on the last pod as well that this was a team that was actually pretty decent on the road. Most of their wins and most of their points were actually coming on the road. So
what are the other ones?
Right. Overall, I would say I think better performance. But sometimes you got to take what the game's giving you, and that defensive performance versus Louisville and withstanding that barrage against them, and just the clinicalness, if that's even a word, versus Louisville, I think shows a lot about the character of this team.
Yeah, kind of like with Quizera's goal and Holstad's goal, we don't have to pick between the two. We can love them both equally. My take is that I think this was a better performance. I think Louisville was a better result. I think they both have a lot of great takeaways from each that we should build on in both directions. But I don't. Yeah, I would say if you're like, which of the two, if you're like going to put a game in the mirror to say, what do you want the team to do going forward? I think this was much more the game that I think we can build on in terms of like how we played versus that one. I do think there was a bit more luck involved because Louisville did create a lot of chances, had a ton of shots. Like that game really could have went a couple different ways if they were a bit more clinical, and we were a little less clinical. So.
Sure. Like Tyler says in the chat on this one, El Paso having 60% possession with only one shot on target speaks more to their quality than ours, in my opinion. And I tend to agree with that. This El Paso team, and I do want to say, like, obviously, I had to watch this one back, not being there. This was actually one of the best ESPN Plus broadcasts. So if you haven't gone back and rewatched it, it was actually pretty well done. There weren't that many quality issues, and the commentators did a pretty good job on this, at least in my opinion. But this El Paso team kind of reminded me of us a little earlier.
I was gonna say that stat line that Tyler is putting out there is very familiar.
Right. Like watching this game and watching some of their giveaways and almost reluctancy to shoot the ball, I went like, this looks like us, before these last three matches. It was very familiar, if you will. Did you see that at all?
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, it was, to be clear, like before the game, I did say, I don't know if it was on our show last time or on the Mousetrap on Monday, but I was nervous that this could be a trap game because I didn't feel as though we in Louisville did things that had, or in Memphis too, had like changed the issues we were seeing around chance creation and around, getting quality looks. So I was definitely really nervous about that, but luckily the team swept my nerves aside very, very quickly.
Right. Matt says, and it's a very good point, that we got those second half goals against Louisville because they threw everyone forward and left their back exposed. But yes, we did. But you also have to create those chances. And it was 5 goals on 6 shots on target in that Louisville game. So that clinicalness was just something totally different. So that,
some would say unsustainable. But.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it just felt very familiar watching this El Paso team. It reminded me so much of us. And
it was nice being on the other side of that, I will say.
Oh, for sure. First half stats, El Paso. See, we're talking too much about Louisville. El Paso had 65% possession. We outshot them 5-2 with 3 on target to 1 for them. 1 big chance for us. 0 big chance missed for either team. They completed 209 passes to our 101. 9 fouls committed for us, 7 for them, and 3 corners to 2. So, other than possession, the stats were pretty level, throughout this one. But
yeah, I mean, I looked it up at halftime, and Kevin made fun of me for looking this up, but I was actually really surprised to see it that skewed towards El Paso. And I think that is because we dominated the field position. Like every time they had the ball, they were it was like at the back with their center backs. They weren't doing anything with it. Maybe they would get it to midfield. Barely got anything in our final third. So I think it was a classic, like the eyeball test versus stats. Like it felt very, very dominant on our end.
And it's why why you have to analyze both of them when you talk about a performance fully. The Bard says there was only one team out on the field. El Paso looked like an untrained mob. And then Andrew brings up an interesting point, and I could see it for a bit watching that second half back. I think RIFC took the foot off the gas after the second goal and let El Paso try to get back into the game. I didn't love the rest of the first half because we seemed to lose control a bit, and I think it was being comfortable. So second half starts, and a little bit more of the same as far as possession, at least. It was a little bit closer in the second half with El Paso having 56%, 5 shots each, 2 on target for RIFC, 2 big chances for us, 0 for them. We missed 1, converted 1. 120 accurate passes for RIFC to 167 for El Paso, 10 fouls to 4. And 2 corners apiece. 19 falls again for the Tide. So we were getting back up there, racking up the discipline.
I mean, that ref was just soft as Sherman.
I think he was a bit of a weenie. It was just like he just blew the whistle just to, any kind of physical contact. At least, Timothy Weah throwing a punch today. We saw in the USA game. Like, okay, but some of the falls that he was blowing whistles on was,
Well, one thing I don't know if I've talked about this at all, but one thing I've thought about is the way that we have seen in the beginning of the season, we were getting a ton of fouls, ton of yellow cards, a couple red cards. there is that concern that other teams will almost scout that and try to play that up. And I was like, the first 15 minutes of this game, he was calling like any foul. They were going down like crazy, and I was like, are they really going to try to just muck this game up?
Think I lost Ryan for a second there. But to Ryan's point, it was very similar to the very similar to the Panama match. You tell Panama trying to bait the U.S. players, and obviously Weah took it. Ryan, it kind of cut out internet wise on you for a little bit there as you were finishing your take, but you are back. So go ahead, feel free to roll back with it.
You nailed it. Just you have to get worried if also like I said, it's just not sportsman. It's lame tactics to try to do that. So.
Right, and Tyler says Ryan got a red card from that ref for the internet.
People were Section 13 said they were trying. I think it was Jason especially saying he was trying to get a yellow card. So nicely done.
I was worried before we started because my power flicked on and off. I told you off air, so I was just hoping we could get Wi-Fi for long enough.
My router's right here.
It's so weird. I don't know, but he's back. We're all good there. The next big bit of action we have to talk about was Noah Fuzan in the 90+1 minute, back on the score sheet. And let's take a look at the goal that absolutely did all but seal the victory and give RIFC the 3-0 and eventual final score.
Kind of as a single entity for Rhode Island, since they've all been similar, taking similar paths. A game against Memphis, they took a 2-0 lead. Come back to it in a second. Looking for a third. To the end line, fed in front. There's a third for Rhode Island. For the second game in a row, Noah Fuzan's on the score sheet to extend the lead to 3.
So I love me some Noah Fuzan. I love how happy he looks when he's playing the game. I think we both agree on that. We're big Noah fans here at Tide Talk, but this one kind of reminded me of the Quizera goal from Louisville. A very, very tight angle, just a cool, calm finish again, and just hit absolutely perfectly. Another goal for Noah. Is he, as Nate would ask other hosts in the away end, is he RIFC's super sub now?
I mean, while I think this question came up last week, is he better as a sub or better as a starter? I still am like 50-50. I think he's made a lot of impact as a starter, but he has looked great 2 games in a row. And I tweeted this at him, but love that he's making impact off the bench. It's really what you want to see. This one, I actually want to give Kano a shout out. There's going to be a lot of Kano shout outs this episode, but I loved his substitution strategy this game. One thing he did right before Noah scored is he took off both wing backs at the same time. So he brought on fresh legs for Turnbull and Quizera with Noah and Colin Smith at the exact same time. So really loved that. And then you saw 2 different subs, including Enking, combined to send Noah through, where he looked so much fresher than the guy that was attacking him. So love to see when Noah kind of slows the game down for a second and puts his technical quality to use to slot that in. So huge Noah guy, and so happy to see him on the score sheet twice in a row.
I wonder if it's almost a little bit more freeing for Noah to come off the bench. He can go in there and knows he can just go hard and go full tilt for 10, 15 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever, time he subbed on. And, we've just seen it in the last few matches. Him converting and him assisting, he's playing unbelievable. So I'm starting to think that the super sub role is his role. It's his best suited role for this team.
Yeah, the only thing I don't think he loved doing those sprints after the game that you have to do when you're the super sub. I dapped him up on the way out because he was doing those back and forth. And I just don't feel, and I'm never like happy for anyone doing those.
Andrew brings up a really good point here. I think Noah is more impactful on the wing, but he's not starting over Quizera or Turnbull, and I can definitely see that. And I can agree with that. I like that. And Andrew and I made a recent truce in the Matt versus Andrew war. So if you're not in the Discord, go check that out.
Very big of you guys.
Pretty good. It's the treaty that we needed. That's what Andrew said. He said it best. So, and it was all over LeBron James takes. So absolutely perfect. But to put a pin in that second half, in the final stats for this one, 60% possession for El Paso. We outshot them 10-7, 5 shots on target to their 1, 3 big chances for them. For us, 0 for them, 1 big chance missed for us. 221 passes completed at 74% for RIFC to 376, 81% for El Paso. 19-11 on the fouls, 5-4 on the corners. I know Pep Guardiola's big quote, and I think we mentioned it last episode, is the faster you bring the ball up the field, the faster it can come back at you. Is Kano starting to realize this? I kind of alluded to it in my opener. You know, he wanted us to play that sexy European play out the back thing, and it really wasn't working. But sit back and whack on the counter is looking pretty reflective of this team and what they can do with it.
Well, I mean, Matt, should we go to the slides?
Let's do it. Do you guys in the chat want the slides? Do we want the slides? Let's do the slides. Let's do it. All right, so let's pull it up.
Everyone's just they're all frozen in just excitement.
They're like, slides, squirrel. So let's bring up the slides and let's get let's get our faces over there. And I know one of our biggest issues was that they wanted to see all of your slides, Ryan. They didn't want to see our faces next to it. So hopefully this full screen slide performance is a little bit better. And before I pass it off to you and let you go dive deep on this one, it is worth noting, if you are on the podcast version of this, make sure you go check out the YouTube so you can see Ryan's slides. He is a data nerd, and I mean that with all due respect. So he's going to dive in with what he's created.
Alrighty, folks. So this presentation today is called The Changing Tides of Kano Ball. So what are the key tenets of Kano Ball as we came into this season, right? So as Matt just alluded to, Kano seemed to want to play this more European sexy style of football. So we have very dominant in possession. We have this really big pressing intensity, which is all supposed to culminate in a feeling of control for games.
Great use of clip art, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. So I will admit before we get into this that I subscribe to this theory of how the game should be played. I am a sicko who loves watching a Man City Arsenal 0-0 chess match. Like, I love this stuff. And I think we saw as the season started that Kano really tried to put this into play. So looking at possession here, right? As we saw in the beginning of the season, we were up in the 50s, if not 60s, for a ton of the season so far. As we creep down, though, towards match 14 and on, which is the past 3 matches, we're down in the 30s, and just breaking 40 here. So that has been trending down for a bit now. So when you start to lose possession, like, what are the big reasons why that might be happening? Well, number one, we're going long a lot more. You see that our average pass volume is down pretty significantly here. That's the bars, but our percentage of going long is huge. So we're really trying to get the ball long. Honestly, really go to JJ, who I think was the secret man of the match last night. His work winning those long balls and then getting helping someone to win that second ball was incredible and really helped us, win that field position battle here. So we're going longer, we're going more direct, as people have pointed out. And what is that doing for us here? We're really playing against a disjointed opposition. So when we're doing that, one of the things that we always talked about in the beginning of the year was we'd have a ton of possession, but we couldn't create anything off it. We were just sitting with they were sitting with all these people behind the ball, and we had no one that could unlock it. That's why we got so excited when Jack P came. We got so excited when Clay hits a long range shot, because that's basically all we could do from there. But we've seen over the past couple of weeks that if you see the bars here, that is the percentages of our shots that get blocked. Percentage of shots that get blocked, which has gone down significantly here. And then as you'll see on the line chart here, this is the percentages of our shots on target, which has gone through the roof here, especially the last 3 games, above 50% in all of them. So we're getting significantly higher quality, which is leading to us actually putting the ball back in the net. And then again, we're seeing our shots really stay about the same here. Like the shots for is the bar graph, but we're seeing a ton more shots that are from inside the box. So we're also getting significantly better shot profile here. So, as much as we love a Clay Holstead screamer from outside the box, those are much harder to convert, and we are doing a much better job of getting those inside the box quality chances here. So, that's like the big win of having this lower possession, being a bit more direct, because we're playing against much more disjointed defenses, which is creating better shots here. Now, if we look at pressing intensity, this one I find more interesting. We, throughout the year, have just praised the team. Like, one of the tenets that we can build on is this pressing intensity. But as we've seen over the past couple weeks, especially, that intensity has gone way, way down. Number one, it could be the heat. Number two, it could be the fixture congestion, but there also could be a really good tactical reason for this. So this shouldn't say points scored, but when we look at pressing, so that's the intensity side of things. Next up is the pressing effectiveness. So these bar charts here, that's GPE. So that's basically pressing effectiveness here. So as you see, that's gone down a bit, but we are seeing that we've maintained what's called passes per defensive action here. So we're still doing a great job breaking up play, but we're not needing to use all this energy and all this intensity to do so, which I think is a great trade-off that the team has made to save legs, to keep people fit, and to, number one, not get people out of position. This is the one that has like really stood out to me when I was creating all this, is when we look at how the type of shots that people are making or against us, we have done a unbelievable job of maintaining our structure and making it really, really hard for people to get quality shots off. This is probably why I haven't really given a shit about the Koke versus Jackson Lee debate, because people aren't really getting the ball to our keeper. If you'll see here, I should have put the numbers. We 80% of shots last night were outside the box from El Paso. That line has just gone straight up. We are making sure that people are not getting even near our net. We are making them get frustrated and take these deep shots. And then we're also blocking a ton of shots. You'll see that number has also ticked up over time. So,
and to kind of jump in a little bit on that, I think a lot of that, time-wise at least, coincides with Chumesi getting into that back line.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, Chumesi. We've also, this was kind of during the Frank Nodarce man of the match every single week run. I think he's played phenomenally. I think Yao has done a really good job of marshaling the center of that back three, where he's just playing his game and he's not doing anything crazy. So like big shout out to the three of them and just the team in general for the midfield needs to keep their shape. The wing backs need to get back, even though they're both like really attacking oriented. So overall, the team is doing an awesome job there. So what has this led to? And this one is probably the one that I'll get booed off the screen for. And this is what makes me a little nervous. This is looking at our open play expected goals. As you'll see, this line here is our average for the season. We're not doing it yet. I think last game was a great look here into what could be coming here. We did win this game like very handedly on that open play expected goal differential, but I'm still a little concerned here that this is us just a little bit over capitalizing. But I do think this change in strategy and change in tactics could lead to this more of this kind of above average winning that goal differential on expected goals. So shout out to Kano. I know that this is not the way he wrote it up when he built this team, when he envisioned it, but I really I appreciate someone who can learn on the fly and be humble enough to change his tactics. I mean, he even said it in his press conference last night that he normally would want us to have more of the ball, but we seem to be doing better without it. So hey, why not?
Oh, right on. Like you said, very good of him to admit to that, and just absolutely crushed it on the stat pack there, Ryan. Really, really awesome job. Did you have any more? Was that it?
That's it.
All right, cool. Just absolutely awesome job. It's interesting because I think a lot of that changed, like I mentioned with Chumesi, but it wasn't even that. It coincided with the lineup and the formation kind of taking shape and solidifying, and a lot of that also is Clay Holstead getting back into the midfield. And
the big thing too with that intensity side of it, like we had so many conversations where I was so furious with like all the center backs because like all three of them were on the same side of the pitch because they were just throwing themselves at everything, or people were just bypassing our midfield because our midfielders were shooting at the ball. And it seems like we are in a much more structured format. We're getting most of our men behind the ball so that they can actually react defensively, which beautiful stuff.
Absolutely. Andrew says in the chat, love this. One of my big takeaways from this game is that they're better when they don't hog possession. They are dangerous on the counter. They're too vulnerable with possession and constant passing. And it's like those pathways just aren't there on the constant passing. So if we can play the simple ball and play it over the top and down the wing and cross it in and look for a goal, it's much more efficient. It's much more effective for this team.
Yeah. And my only concern is that, like, I don't know that we're playing fully on the counter. It's like this kind of hybrid thing. So I just get worried with the word counter. But
right.
The thing too is like our passing accuracy in the final third is like really, really bad. And I think it's just one of those things that, like, yes, all of this is currently working, but there's still some clear holes to try to figure out. So the good thing is the team is showing that they are able to adapt, able to learn, able to grow. So yeah.
Right, like Andrew says, just good to see them adapting. And you said you struggle to use the term playing on the counter, like, but it's interesting because like you mentioned in your stats there, the pressing has gone down. So I don't think you can call this like you can't call this like a full gegenpress because
No.
it's not that. Um, it's more counter slash wing play that's driving everything. So it's some kind of balance. There is that press, but it's not that full out gegenpress that I think, if you watch European soccer,
Mhm.
if you dabble with Football Manager, what you might see or what you might try to execute.
Yeah, one thing too is like I think one big concern and frustration I had with this formation, especially, was it seemed like all we would ever do is get it out to the wings and just hope for the best. And it seems like there's a lot more interplay between the center of the pitch and out in the wing. Like people aren't getting on the wing, and there's multiple people waiting to block the cross, and there's no one in the middle. It seems
Sure.
like a much more joined up thought process there. Of like it gets out of Turnbull, he has support from Clay, he also has support from JJ. I think JJ honestly is like the linchpin to all of this.
Right. I think it's more hunting in packs versus
Yes. Yep.
earlier in the season. It was more like lone wolf hunting, and it was it was Chico trying to press, and maybe Turnbull would be there on the flank for a secondary press. But now, like you said, it's more linked up. It's that first bit of pressure, and then boom, that second wave's there. And if that gets by, then there is at least a third wave. And you said how play gets disrupted a lot more. It's not so much that it's pressed, but we are disrupting and interrupting a lot more opponent passing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot easier when if we press and the press gets beat, and then all of a sudden it's a lot easier to string together three passes because all three guys are wide open. When we're staying in our shape and people are being opportunistic about when they pounce, it's a lot more difficult to pass through guys, which we've seen us struggle against. So yeah, overall, just lots of improvement here.
Yep, you're getting a lot of love in the chat, so definitely wanted
Thank
to
you
make
all.
sure
Thank you
make
all.
sure you saw that. If you watch on the YouTube, but you have an iPhone, go on Apple Podcasts, leave a review about Ryan slides. We'll definitely appreciate reading those a little bit later on. But a dominant performance, unbeaten in the last 3, 2 wins in a row, and we have 2 games in hand on Hartford right now, but creeped into that 8th spot as far as the playoffs. And I you know. I talked with you. I talked with Irvin at the German Club event, and I looked at El Paso. I look at Miami. I looked at Hartford as that should be 9 points, and that was even before the Louisville win. So if we can get 12 points out of those matches, I think we can comfortably sneak into that playoff spot. And if we're getting hot and we're scoring goals, we could be a tough out.
For sure. I mean, people always were saying before the season started, and then even throughout, like there's a lot of talent here, and they just need to figure out how to use it. So again, hopefully we can continue to build, continue to adapt, and then by the time October comes around, we're both in the playoffs and also able to really be, like you said, a tough out there. So yeah, more to come. More to come. I'm excited.
We got our guy, the Bard, in the chat saying we need to be better at defending the long ball, though. That is how Tampa stomped us. We were talking on our Tide Talk chat before coming on about that Tampa match. And Ryan, I believe it was 8. We allowed 8 big chances in that.
They've missed 4 of them.
So I actually sat next to the Bard at the German Club and his dad for this one, and it wasn't miserable sitting next to him, but watching that match was miserable. You said you were watching at Moniker, and the bartender asked you if you wanted to turn it off or not.
Yeah, just me and my wife. We were like, this was before I think I was even in the Defiance. Like, yeah, it was brutal. I guess just to point out though, I think we are better at the long ball nowadays. Mostly because again, the center backs aren't flying up the field and then they're caught with someone behind. I think they're being a little more conservative. I also think we have some pretty speedy guys back there. So and I would also back like Yao and Odarse in an aerial duel. So I hope it'll be much better. I mean, I don't know how it couldn't be much better in that game.
I think that was a very, very different team in that Tampa game.
And people have a lot of trouble going to Tampa.
Yeah,
myself included.
Right. Long ball killed us in Memphis too. It did. We saw a bit of it. Tim says, never watching another game at the German Hall. It's jinxed. It is an awesome place to watch a game though. The beer's great. The food's great. It's cool vibes all around. But that night was like, oof, it was rough. It was a rough one for
There's
sure.
Just no hope at any point.
As we shift gears a little bit on this one, we did see some team news, and Prince Sadie transferred from RIFC to Charleston today. 10 appearances for the Tide. It started early on, but a lot lately were coming off the bench, and it was kind of garbage minutes, if you will, in his last few appearances. 10 appearances, no goal contributions. Just a striker and auxiliary winger who was not adding to the score sheet for us, and it does free up a roster spot. So it'll be interesting to see how we move and potentially fill that gap. I know we talked off air on this, and we both hope a winger comes in, to replace and kind of give us another threat off the bench. But what are your thoughts on Prince Sadie getting the curtain call today?
Yeah, well, shout out to him. Apparently, we got a little bit of cash, so always love that. Hard to say much. I don't think we really saw a ton of him. It seems like it was a smart move by the club. Take someone who isn't really being played and then try to potentially bring someone in who could add a bit of value to the team. So
Sure.
I'm overall very fine with it. Again, didn't really get too attached or too in love with Prince Sadie. So.
Right. I think in all actuality, he was here for about 5 minutes of the club's history. So, like Tim says, best move for him. He wasn't going to get the minutes here.
Is he going to get minutes at Charleston though?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I was thinking about this a little bit more today, and I wonder how much of Noah's new role and coming off the bench led to this, and Noah helping out with the goal contributions off the bench as far as the sub, because we've seen Sadie come in and it just hasn't worked for him. A couple spot starts later on, but I don't think he was going to challenge anyone for real starter minutes. And as far as attacking sub off the bench, he's not going to challenge Noah the way Noah's been playing of late.
Yeah, I mean, it's just tough. Like, once we got healthy, that roster, we all of a sudden got really deep in a lot of those positions where the first, third of the season, we had a lot of people out missing for various reasons. So, again, best of luck to him. Hope he does well, except when he plays against us, as you always say. So,
all right. We got to talk a little bit about the post match and the donuts. Ryan, what's the best donut in Rhode Island?
Ooh, best donut in Rhode Island. All right, I'm gonna
and feel free before I ask you, so I'll give you a little time to turn your gears.
Well, I'm gonna get booed either way. So
let us know in the chat, what's your favorite donut? What's the best donut in Rhode Island?
I'm gonna say it. I'm not a huge donut guy, so you're getting advice from someone who doesn't. Whatever. But I do love Need. I like their donuts. I'm much more of like a light donut guy. Like, I like something that's like, fluffy, has good bite into it. I also like boring donuts. I don't love all like the crazy ones that have like piles of shit on them. I know Kevin has already made fun of me today. So I literally tweeted at Kano. I was like, Kano, listen, I know you got PVD donuts in your mind. I know it's right in our neighborhood, but try Need. It's down the street. Very, very good. A nice light donut. They got a ton of flavors still. They're very good. So
what's your take on Allie's? Because I know Allie's is another one that comes up.
So I have this written down in my speaking of Kano's presser section. If we really need to celebrate something like clinching the playoffs or winning a title, a donut cake has to be on the horizon.
A nice anchor-shaped one?
Yes, an anchor-shaped donut cake. That's the only way to celebrate.
I think you heard it here first. If Rhode Island FC clinch a playoff spot, the Tide Talk crew will be purchasing a anchor-shaped Allie's donut cake that we will present to the team. Done, right?
Yeah, as long as we get a second one for ourselves. I might have one myself.
We'll have two made up.
Yes.
We'll share with you, the listeners, too, going on there. But Andrew says, honestly, I'm shocked Kano was shitting on Duncan. That's a rich potential sponsor. That's chess right there, Andrew. And Andrew had also mentioned that he is a Need guy as well. I also am a Need guy. The PVD, the brioche is too big for me. I'm not a big fan of it. I like a little bit thinner. But the one Need donut that is a little thicker that I will tell you that I like is the peanut butter and jelly. And if you never had this, it's only available on the weekends. So they just opened up a newer location near LaSalle Academy. So that's about 5 to 8 minutes from my house, somewhere under 10 minutes. And I'll go there on the weekends, like, just to get that donut. That donut is a fucking meal in its own right. The the glazed old fashioned,
that's
like
my style.
That's like got that little corner dip to it. That one is top notch. Usually I get two when I go there.
Like, that and the coffee is like elite weekend breakfast.
Right. I'll do the old fashioned as like for breakfast, and then I'll do the peanut butter and jelly like after I cut the lawn. Like, that'll be like if it's too early for a lawnmower bear. I don't know if it's ever too early for a lawnmower bear, but that'll be like almost my free lunch.
Like the sequence of you.
Right. I had to take you full circle with a day in the life of me on the weekend. But we've got some people in here. PVD is trash. I'm just not a fan. I think they're too big. They're too dry for me. Matt says Alley's are the best, and I would give Alley's my number 2 spot. I would go Need, then I would go Alley's if we're gonna rank it. I think the like that marshmallow cream or frosting or whatever the hell it is, or you want to call it, from Alley's, that the white frosting that holds all those sprinkles in is absolutely top notch. And like I said, I do like the peanut butter and jelly. If you've never had the jelly roll from Alley's Donuts, and I know it's tough to go away from the norm and not get a donut, but the jelly roll is a sugary monster that will put you in a diabetic coma. And is very, very delicious. So give that a whirl as well. Tyler, donuts and dubs.
I mean, if anyone has any donut recommendations, it seem like we're all pretty close together. But if there's any like sneaky dark horses out there, let us know.
So Kevin says, "Who likes old-fashioned donuts? Serial killers." We Tide Talk, Mindhunter. It is what it is. Was Kevin's PVD? Was that his favorite?
Yes.
Whatever. I don't know. Evan says he likes he said honeydew. Theirs are a little different. They're getting better. They put like cereal on them now too. They got a couple different flavors, but Andrew mentions PVD is over the top, and Kevin says y'all are weak men. But I'm sticking with Need.
Kevin, I don't know. You're the one who wants all the sugary fucking nonsense on his donut.
Right. Like I will say that the only one I've ever liked, and this is total like contradictory to donuts.
I can't believe how long we're going on donuts. This is an A+.
This is a good segment. We might have to do like a little food ranking in the middle of each episode. I think it gets everyone going.
That's for the off season. We gotta stack the time.
I did have PVD used to make right around Thanksgiving. They do like a Thanksgiving style donut with like stuffing, but they actually used I think it was fried. I think it was fried chicken instead of turkey. It was different. I'll give them that. Like, but if I think something like sweet, that's gonna go with my coffee. I drink my coffee black, so I am a serial killer.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah, like
it's all making sense.
Yeah. I drink my coffee black, so I like the old fashioned with a little bit of
I make slides for a podcast. It's,
dude, like virtual high five there. Like we are all about it on that one. Donut talk, you heard it here on Tide Talk. Before we do kind of wrap things up, we do have Indy 11 next, and that's July 5th. It is a 7:30 home start. This is another team in very good form. They did lose last time out versus Orange County at home 1-0, but they have a 1-0 win over San Antonio, a 1-0 win over Birmingham, a 2-1 win over Pittsburgh, and a 2-1 win over Phoenix Rising. This is going to be a pretty interesting game as far as things go. They're pretty hot. So are we. So both teams only have one loss in the last 5. They do have the 4 victories to our 2, but I think this is one that we can continue the momentum and get going. And we're gonna hope to have an away end episode out next Wednesday, previewing this one, and then always Kevin will be back in full action on Monday for the Call Hog Corner. So make sure if you're not already, follow him on Twitter and get there and get in that space. It'll be good to hear him back. But also worth noting, a very, very job well done to our guy Scott from Wales. Mouse absolutely killed it in the mousetrap, and we're actually looking to add the mousetrap as a mainstay in our Tide Talk repertoire or lineup. So we're trying to figure out where we want to hit that gap. What can we bring with a mouse talk that'll be a little bit different for RIFC content? So if you have any ideas, get in touch with us. One thing that we did when we first started kicking around ideas for Tide Talk, we started our own little Discord, and we had it like set up just with the 4 of us. But if you'd like to join that and kind of get into our chat and let us know what you'd like to see from the show and how to improve it, send us a DM me on the Discord, or get in touch on any of the socials on the main account, and I'll send you the invite link. You can hop in that chat, join us, and let us know what you want to see from the show, because like you said, we are a podcast for the fans, by the fans, and we want to keep growing it out like that and get your input to make what we do better. So
if obviously Discord's amazing and feel free to join, but if you're someone who just wants to give us an opinion, you don't want to join the whole Discord, please message the account, leave a review. We really want to make this great. We want to take all the feedback we have, talk to one of us in person, on social, do whatever, please.
Right. And before we do that, and as you mentioned, socials, do want to go to the RIFC in 3 and some good, bad, and the ugly takes that we had before we do sign off on this one. So, as far as good, bad, and the ugly, we had Deezer on Discord. The good, Jojea Quizera in another round of 3 goals by 3 different scorers. So, the amount of people getting into the goals and getting into the goal contributions continues to grow, continues to climb. So, really, really, really well done by this team. We've got Nate Ski with the good, bad, and the ugly. The good was the win. The bad didn't score more. I think we could have had a few more in this one for sure. And the ugly was caught in cold, hard rain. I wasn't there with you at Burn, but I was at Gillette and I was caught in a fucking monsoon too. So I definitely know how that feels. And then let's kick it to some of the 3 words. And we had Tim McDuff on the Discord. What a night. Andrew H. Am I Jonah? I know, Andrew, I'm with you as not being there. So, we will get there. We will see a win. I promise you, my friend. Tim says the stadium broke. I know people have parts of the stadium or might have part of the stadium. Andrew Gomez says train gang derailed. Andrew Q, my new ally. We're going streaking. And he got a lot of good old school gifts and responses to it. Our guy Kev, Fluffy Cog Boy, tide has turned. And then we got, these are 3 words, Fina fucking Lee, and it was Lee, Jackson Lee. I like that. I like that play. Mike M responded to Andrew's "We're going streaking" with "Up the quad to the gymnasium" as 2 separate ones. Absolutely love
I
the
have to watch that movie again soon. I haven't seen it in so
Yeah.
long.
We were always talking at the end of the school year, Old School and Euro Trip. Those are 2 that like I have to go back and rewatch. Like Scotty doesn't know. Terrace on Discord, rounding into form. Tyler, lads are buzzing. I meant to download and pull that video of the player reactions, but I didn't get it in time with the power going out. But if you haven't already seen that, go on the Rhode Island FC socials and watch that. The players were absolutely loving it. So really good stuff on there. Leo O on the Discord, good, smooth, and confident ball movement for large part of the game. Bad, random moments of sloppiness, and it's still a progression, and we're still improving there. Ugly technical difficulties, and the 3 words, things keep clicking. I like that one. Things keep clicking. We are rounding into some pretty solid form. Heading over to Instagram, Rhode Island FC UK, the train's derailed. Thanks for that, Scott. Brian Luch, Lee equals W? Question mark. So there's gonna be that debate.
I've given my take.
There's gonna be that debate, and it's gonna be ongoing of Koke and Lee, and interesting.
It's my favorite debate because there's no loser. They're both great.
Right. Our guy Cool Will 20 from Sacramento, welcome home win. Yammy Yams on Instagram. It's about time. Shup Mitch, the tides are changing. I loved reading Shup Mitch's every time he liked a post or comments on it, because I just think his username's awesome. Shut Mitch. Like I just giggled. I laughed at it. M Howard, offense finally clicking. And then on Facebook, we had Ryan Hall, good friend of mine, a colleague of mine, teacher of mine, full team game. We had Amir, Chip runs delighted. I like that. Good stuff.
Chip was having a blast last night. It was awesome.
On the Facebook, in our Facebook group, Don Lindbergh, RIFC dominate play, truly a complete game played by everyone. Congratulations, lads. And Barbara Malark put a really awesome GIF. That was awesome. And it's Chris Farley in the life jacket. So you gotta love that. That's an absolute classic of a GIF. So thank you to everyone who took the time to write in on all of our socials and go in there. So we really appreciate it. Andrew says, and got his take in. Oops, clicked the wrong one there. Andrew got his take in. First home win, obviously, was the good. Bad, stadium sound system. Ugly, lack of center back depth. Yeah, I can see that. We do have Colin Smith that can kind of like slot into different roles too. So
and Grant Stoneman, I guess, is back. Yep.
But as always, up the tide, RIFC. And the Bard saying we should make a chant with the Scotty doesn't know beat. I'd be all for that.
There's a lot of creative people in the Discord, so
there's some really good stuff, and that Defiance Discord is absolutely awesome. Hopefully, if you are creative, you're on a committee that corresponds to that, and you can only help our fan support grow. But it is Indy 11 next. I think it's a winnable game. We'll come back at you. In the
when you beat Louisville, kind of they all are winnable.
Right.
If you any given Sunday type
at Louisville too, right?
Yeah.
we'll come at you with our score predictions. We'll save them for Wednesday for the away end. And then just a reminder, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, make sure you tune in to the Call Hog Corner Monday at 9 on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Maybe Kevin will talk about donuts. Maybe Kevin will be eating donuts. We'll see what happens there. But
I'd be nervous if he eats one of those PBD donuts at like 9 p.m. He's gonna be up all night.
yeah, he's a little guy, so that sugar elevation would totally go to him. You know,
It'd ruin me.
Yeah, absolutely. But make sure you're tuned in and make sure you're following all of the accounts. We might have some cool announcements coming over the next few days based on some communications we've had with some different people. So make sure you're following Tide Talk on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and you're following or subscribe to our YouTube and the podcast variant as well. And our Facebook group is over 600 people, which I think is absolutely insane. So if you're on Facebook and you haven't joined the group, we kept the RIFC Nation name for that, just so more people will find it. So it's actually Rhode Island FC Nation on Facebook. Join that group. The interactions have been going up and up, and there's a lot of people in there. So make sure you check that out. It's a really cool space to just learn a little bit more about this team. But before we sign off, any final thoughts, Ryan? Anything you want to get off your chest? Maybe that ugly shirt.
Saying no, as always, just want to shout out everyone who said hi. I again will never get used to it. Really appreciate it. I owe a couple people stickers. Some people directly just asked for stickers. I loved it. So I have not forgot about you. We will get you stickers.
The new Tide Talk stickers are in too.
Yes.
So I will be there. I will be there at the indie match. I've had 2 concerts in 5 days. My liver and kidneys are begging for a little bit of a break, but I'm sure I'll be drinking in the parking lot anyway. So, whatever. But the Tide Talk stickers are in. So find me at the Indy 11 tailgate and we'll hook you up.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. All right. So yeah, same. I'm upset I couldn't be there. Like I said, I just hope I can be at the first Tide Talk. Tide Water. See, it does it itself. The Tide
Also,
Water
what about the second Burn Stadium win?
Yeah, maybe I can just be there for that.
It'll be just as magical, I bet.
I was actually there for the PC friendly win, so I'll hold on to that. I'll cling on to that for a little bit. But thanks again to everyone who tuned in. We really appreciate it. Like we said, if you can, if you have an iPhone, take a quick second, leave us that 5-star rating and a short review on Apple Podcasts. If you use Spotify, 5 stars helps us tremendously. Just helps us grow, helps more people find it, and helps the show grow. And as like I mentioned earlier, if you want to join that Discord, send us a DM. We'll add you, and you can help with the creative juices that flow in the Tide Talk. Yeah, I mean, that sound a little bit kinky, I guess, but that'll wrap things up for this one. We'll be back at you midweek with an away end episode. Kev's got you covered on Monday on the Call Hog Corner. We'll see you next time. Thanks you for everyone who joined the chat. We appreciate it. We got a lot of good takes in on donuts and Rhode Island FC too, so always a good time here. But thanks again for tuning in. I've been your host, Matt, from my friend Ryan. We'll see you next time. And as always, up the Tide.
Up the Tide.